Alright, this is a complementary color scheme with the red and green. It's got dull green, light green, a darker dull green, and then the bright reds and pinks. So the fish are abstracted. You have the shapes of the fish, but it's not all of the details. The strawberries serve as some of the underwater plants and the mushrooms as well. And it's an abstract, meaning it looks like it could be an ocean scene, but it's not exactly. It's not realistic at all. Okay, here's another one. The detail in this one is all in the way that the fins are cut out and the tail. And the way this is done is it's actually a yellow piece underneath, and then the green piece, and then another yellow piece for this and for the eye. So it's layered, and I'll show you some of how to do this cutting in a little bit. This is an analogous color scheme, going from yellow-orange to yellow to the greens, the yellow-greens. Okay, this is complementary, and with this piece you've got the aquas, which are all the dulls and the brights and the darks, the whole range of values of aquas. And then you've got repetition coming here with the red plants that are berries, and if you look carefully, they're actually cut out around every berry. That's important. Make sure that you don't have the background of the original piece showing, otherwise the collage effect doesn't work. It's unified because of the color scheme. There's a variety of textures. You've got a blanket texture here, a smooth texture here, and then the berries, and then these plants have a different texture. Then there's the pattern on the fish. Okay, so it's got a variety of textures. The emphasis red usually stands out more than any other color, so the emphasis is probably on the red. The scale, let's see, we've got everything from smaller fish to larger fish, and so that's the scale of the objects in the front here. These flowers are quite large. Okay, this is another complementary color scheme where you've got the red violet and the yellow green, and every layer is alternating. So a brighter layer here, and this is the beet greens that are the closest to you, so they have the most detail. Then it goes a duller, then a lighter, a brighter, lighter. That's the way you tell the difference between the layers, and there's PowerPoints on this as well. These are repeated here, and so are these. So there's a lot of repetition of these long, skinny shapes, both in the creatures and in the plants. Okay, this is not completed because here's what you can see how this stands out. It's light on a dark background. What is completed on this is the scale of the fish going from a larger all the way down to the smallest fish. So what's down at the bottom is close to you, what's up at the top is far away, and so the scale of this piece is completed, and the value going from dark to light is completed. This area with plants is not resolved yet. So if plants were added in here and in front of this fish, then that would help integrate this whole area. And these fish were all made from birds. This is an analogous color scheme, and it goes from red violet to red, red orange, orange, and over to yellow orange. So it's this whole part of the color wheel. This is definitely the focal point right here, and this was cut from several pieces in the background, pieced together. It stands out quite a bit because there's the dark of the red violet next to the brightest of the yellow orange. Alright, this goes from blue violet to violet up here, and then over to the red violets, but not all the way to the reds. This is two layers again, where you cut one layer out and then you put it on top of another and then cut around the edge. That's how you get that effect. And this background is 1, 2, 3 pieces. So this was actually from National Geographic, and it went all the way up to here, and then these top pieces were added. These are all patterns. Again, see, it's very abstracted. There's a lot of fish here, but they're just kind of the fish shape. It's not so much about anything realistic as it is just about having fun with the shapes and colors. Okay, this is another take on collage where you have squares that are cut out, and you can do this with your scrapbooking little cutters. These are actually 4 squares put together, and then the same fish shape just repeated across the surface. So this is all about unity in the color scheme, which is analogous, unity in the repetition of the shapes and in the squares, but then variety because it goes everywhere from a really dull aqua to a really bright and light green here. So there's variety in the colors, but it's unified as well. There's not really one point of emphasis in this. There's a lot of lines that intersect. This is another variety of the same type of square idea. This is 2 pieces of paper that were woven together in the technique that is done in 2nd grade a lot for some reason. And this is just squares and rectangles of paper, and then that same shape of fish cut out. This one relies heavily on shape and line. It's all about value. It's achromatic, so it's all about going from black to a very light gray. It's unified because of the color scheme. The variety is in the different values that it has. There's not one point of emphasis, but there's a lot of rhythm across the space. The scale of everything is relatively the same, so scale's not a big point in it. Color is not a big point, but texture is, because there's texture of water and texture of the text here. And then there's not space represented in this one except for positive and negative space, but there's so much going on here that it would be almost hard to say what the positive and negative space is unless this almost ends up looking like negative space because it's the same as the background. So it kind of plays around with that whole idea.